Hello, Simon Lyons, and I would like to welcome to our Fintech Garden community. So today we're conducting interviews at Sibos 2025. We have pretty diverse profile of people who we're talking with, and we're really looking to have your experience and your overview what is happening right now. And usually we start with the icebreaker. So what actually brings you to the conference? What are you looking for?
Well, I think we've just had last weekend the Ryder Cup, So this is the Ryder Cup of conferences. If you come to Sibos, the scale and the impact of the businesses that are here is just a different level to a lot of other conferences. They're all find their own right. For us, it's really important. We have maybe grown as a business, so we've started doing national-based and sovereign-based work. And we're really interested in seeing what the banks do as well, because we see some of the big banks as basically behaving like big countries. So for me, what's it for? It's a learning experience, see old friends and new friends, and really have a look out there and see what the opportunities are.
Yeah, that's, I think, the brightest part of those conferences. Like, you have a possibility to meet the friends, because everyone is coming, and here is an exposure what is happening within the big institutions who are monopolies, and they provide the infrastructure in different angles. One of them is open banking.
Absolutely.
I understand that. And what do you think the industry or particular banks, they nailed this year? Because a lot of things are happening, like a stable coins, AI. Anything that we can be proud of that the banks achieved or nailed?
I'm probably one of the biggest supporters of banks you'll get from the fintech community. I don't criticize them. The job they do is immensely difficult. I'd probably give you a slightly different answer. I think the work a lot of the global banks have done on fraud is quite staggering. We've just had a release from the New Zealand Payments Commission that the Ombudsman's complaints went down by 17%. Now, that's not by luck or by chance. It's because of what that industry did. We've seen in the States the huge fraud numbers, but they're making a lot to address these things. A lot of people talk about stable coins. I think they're a little bit etherware. I don't know what they do yet, or tokenization, but I commend the banks for the work they've done on fraud, because we're in a slowing economy, and very naturally our less nefarious, more nefarious and dishonest actors will try and steal from us first. So I applaud them for their fraud measures, and I look forward to them using more in data sharing to do that. And to your earlier point, the principle of open banking is to share data between banks securely. What it's used for is not defined by us, and we will never guess most of them.
So that's true. And that brings us to another question, like, what are the challenges for the next year? You already highlighted the fraud. Is it something that will continue to be an issue globally, or you think other challenges will be there?
Well, that's a brilliant question, number one. The challenges of the banks are legacy. So the way they connected to customers over the past 30 years began 30 years ago. I mean, we move into the times now of APIs, we move away from files, we move away from that, but there's a much bigger issue at play here as well. These banks want to talk to their corporate customers as well as their retail customers, and they're hamstrung because, to my earlier point, they've got to protect the customers. I think we're going to see, for me, in the next year or 2 years, a lot more of data sharing where it is response driven. So I ask you a question, my customer, you give me a response. I don't necessarily share the data with you. That's a much lower risk as well. It brings us on to the subject which is bandied around, which is trust. And establishing that trust between bank and client is critical. I don't think it's mature yet, but if you ask me to give you my number one answer, we will see the way that banks engage with their clients, be them retail, small business or corporate. That's the growth area. And those areas will become driven by trust, by central utility, and by easy to adopt. If you'll humor me, and I know you can edit, so let me out. The challenges our banks make to communicate with their customers are immense. It's probably, for me, the biggest pain point they've got, and the first person to address it, I think, is in a very good place, because it will resonate with the bank's problem. A lot of the community don't solve the problems the banks have. I think that's one to solve. Yeah,
that's a huge challenge. And I'm always wondering, like, a lot of people saying that the banks, if they want to change, they can do, like, with this approach where the bank is basically the holder of the information about the customer, like they can proper answer it. And I don't think that it potentially might be happening. And that's a question, because usually that really depends on the silos of the communication within the banks. And do you think, is it going to be the time when the banks will start understanding that they digital products rather than the pure financial, because that heavily impacts their communication, I think?
So again, a really interesting question, because of one reason only. The legacy method is my bank tells me how to work with me. I get a digital channel or an app. Well, that's gone. If you think about it now, if we have a secure way of connecting to APIs and a simple way, number one, we stop the bank spending billions of euros on apps and on digital channels. But number two, the service is easier, and the fintech community can fill that gap. define open banking in a way that others wouldn't, in that you were told how to deal with your bank for many years.
Yeah.
And now we're not. We can engage that bank how we want via APIs, and we can deliver the service made for it. Get the bank you want, not the one you're given. It's coming. It's slower than it was said, but we could put open in front of a lot of words and we could actually share that data. I just wish they hadn't called it open. I wish they got it smart. The word open creates alarm.
Okay. Open, that usually it's mirroring, because people tend to name the things which they think the most harder way to get. So open banking means that everything is closed and really hard to get it open. So maybe smart would be much better.
Smart and secure would have been really good. Yeah.
Okay. And the final question, and we tackled a little bit before the recording, is open finance, because I see a really huge shift from open finance. Like PSD2 is there, PSD3 is coming, but a lot of discussions, they shifting toward not open banking, but about open finance. What do you think about this term and in general, the movement?
So I think there's negatives and positives. I think the negatives are that I don't know any industry that likes to be bundled in with another one. So we have the property industry, we have the finance industry, we have, the construction industry. They're not just open finance, insurance as well. In banking, we just built it for banks. I see it at home in the UK at the moment. There are industry sectors that are building their own data sharing regimes. There is a big piece of work in our utility sector at the moment going doing it as well. I think we need to start thinking about sector thinking, because the use of the need of timing for a construction industry is very different to insurance. I do think we don't have a lift and drop. What I do think is that certain industries will do things and learn from open banking. It was a privilege in the UK to be first, and it was a privilege, but it's also a curse, because anybody that can then augment and can improve what you've got as well. I would watch the space for utilities and energy. I think you're going to see some amazing things happen. Where do I think it's going? Competition is the healthiest thing on the planet.
That's true.
And if we have 5 sectors all doing their own data sharing regimes, from those 5 will come one piece of brilliance. So I think it should be segregated a little bit more. And from that will come some things we will never even imagine.